Yeah, what? So, in traditional my channel fashion, I did a little DMT yesterday. Just a little. No, that was like a fucking crazy blast off. But it was yeah. I mean, I rarely have a bad time on DMT. I very much enjoyed it. Fucking, I did the whole like I put in like a good 30-40 milligrams. I don't have a 4-point scale at the moment. I lost it a couple weeks ago, so my 3-point scale isn't the most accurate in the world. But I mean, I've been pretty good at eyeballing, so I know that I put in quite a bit, because I wanted to get that one hit breakthrough, and I got a huge first hit, and then I was like, oh, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna take a second one just to make sure, just to be doubly sure, and yeah, bing bang, fucking thank you, man, wall bing bang, fucking zippy, I was fucking gone. Yeah, I mean, and the cool thing was I started playing Alabama 3 at first, which for those of you who don't know, is a tremendously witty and very theatrical electronic acid house sort of, I want to say ensemble because it's mostly predicated on the sort of the two main members and then a few other band members, but they play actual instruments and stuff for a lot of their music, and they sort of satirize psychedelic culture, and they remind me of a lot of my friends' dads growing up who were like Gen X, and they had like the second summer of love, and they're like in their 50s or 60s, and they're still fucking doing acid and MDMA and partying and bringing home a different chick every night. Like, that's what Alabama freaking reminds me of. And I mean, this may have been a poor choice on my part, but it's one of my favorite songs by them. Mao Zedong said, Chairman Mao, the dictator, change only comes through the bullet of a gun. And the song has a recording from Jim Jones at the beginning, like of Jonestown, the guy who convinced the people to drink the Kool-Aid and then fucking had the people who didn't systematically killed. That guy. He's got this recording like, sure, you got love, principle, oh, what's that word, hate is my enemy, I'm gonna fight it day and night, what the devil is the line, love is the only weapon, shit, bullshit, Martin Luther King died with love, Kennedy died talking about some kind of love, he didn't understand some kind of generalized love, and he couldn't even back it up. Bullshit. Love is the only weapon with I got to fight. I got a hell lot of weapons to fight. I got my clothes, I got my cutlasses, I got cannons, I got dynamite. I'll fight. As you can tell, I've listened to this song way too many fucking times, but it's fucking brilliant. But the whole song is, Mao Zedong said, change must come through the barrel of a gun. Actual quote by Chairman Mao. Not that's uncharacteristic of a tyrannical fucking communist dictator. But yeah, no, I was listening to that, and it's a very short song, but so I was blasting off, and I don't really get the tunnel that people describe. Usually what happens is like things get really glitchy, and then I'm like, boom. Usually, like, either what happens is it's like all these glitchy digital sort of dimensional these things are always so fucking hard to describe. I get consumed by these like these very vivid, like holographic digital fucking boxes full of crazy shit going on, and then pulled into it. Or I just get fucking shot through a massive gate looking thing, and that's what happened this time around. I got shot through a gate that was like, it had the same color scheme as the DMT entities who I like. I know this will sound weird, but DMT is weird, so it's sort of par for the course, right? But I consider sort of my tribe on DMT, because when I first met them, they wanted me to be their ambassador and to repair their relations with another tribe who they fell out of love with a long time ago. I've told this story a million times, but it was a fucking crazy experience. One of my craziest DMT experiences. Certainly one of the more intimate ones. And I see them every now and then. They look like these giant black and red sort of eagles and crows and whatnot. But their color scheme is very noticeable, and sometimes I'll feel their feathers raining down on me, and they don't feel like stiff feathers. They feel like velvet, just caressing me. But I remember I shot through the gate, and went on the what I've kind of come to expect is the typical DMT trajectory of I went past the gate, and then I was in this giant space with this entity that was like doing this very interesting kind of optical illusion. And as I said, like I don't see like fucking the jesters or insert copy and paste archetypal image of a mythological creature. I've had that happen, but it's been very rare. And it's usually after listening to fucking other people talk about their experiences. So I try to omit my exposure to those reports, so I can, because the more I do that, the more I find the entities to manifest in a very unique way that I've never heard described before, and this entity was no different. It was like, it looks kind of like a bulb, and there's a line and a bulb and then a line and a bulb, and it was doing this sort of dance, and the dance was creating these tracers that would create more and more and more and more entities behind it. And it was interesting because I wasn't having a dialogue with it. I wasn't having this like telepathic communication, but I could very easily interpret what it was trying to tell me. It was trying to tell me that this dance was like routine, and how the more we do this dance, we solidify our routine and this sense of stability that comes with it. And at the same time, though, in dancing to fulfill our routine, we dance around the fact that maybe our routine isn't warranted, or dance around, questioning why we have a routine to begin with, So, like, actually, fairly, like, deep allegorical analysis within the span of about 10 seconds where I came to this conclusion. And I got the response, which I find kind of typical of, oh, okay, you got the message. On you go. And so I ascended towards the big blimp / Fabergé egg-looking thing that I call the Tryptamine Palace, which is, I guess, somewhat similar to the machine elves things that McKenna describes, but I mean, I've never seen like self-dribbling basketball. No, these things are fucking massive, and they seem like they're a completely different tier of the DMT hyperspace realm. And so usually what will happen is, if I've done like 25-30 milligrams, which I would say was about what I got down, I will end up ascending towards this thing, and crazy things will start falling out of it. And it looks kind of like a spaceship when you're looking up at it, and it's fucking massive, and it's got this this sort of circular opening to it that, you know, like doors you see in futuristic sci-fi video games that open and close with the jagged teeth coming together, like look kind of like that, but then entities are sort of coming out of it, and I was hoping that it would pull me into it, because on more intense, like if I've done like 40 milligrams or more intense trips, I will get pulled into it, and then that's when I go into what I call the tryptamine palace, and I will see crazy fucking like golden cities, and you know, all these hyperloops where like thousands of entities are just fucking flinging through them, and I can go into one hyperloop or another and then just go boom, 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 as all these entities soar past me. Fortunately, I didn't get there. It started fading like right as I was about to ascend, and I was like, you know what, fucking DMT, that was fucking awesome, because, you know, even though I say, like, I don't think they truly are interdimensional beings or whatever, I think it's a extreme personification of what's going on in your psyche. I still, I treat the entities like they are as real as you or me, because, I mean, they could totally be interdimensional beings for all I know. I don't think that's the case logically, but I don't know, and I want to treat them with respect, because the more I go out of my way to state my respect for them, I find the more constructive work I do with them. So, you know, I sort of said, thank you, DMT. I want to maintain the novelty of these experiences, so I am going to just make sure not to do too much, to keep these experiences meaningful and special, because I was doing it to the point where, like, you know, I think it's a testament to my sanity that I could do it fucking every day, sometimes multiple times a day, multiple breakthroughs, ego deaths, come back and just be like, wow, that was fucking crazy, and then just go about my day. So like, you know, I know people who actively use DMT as a form of escapism, or to like fill in voids within them that, you know, like grief, like loss, like, oh, every time I do it I see my dead loved one. It's like that's, you're missing the point, and DMT is going to it's going to throttle you if you keep using it like that. It's like this is the same person who I did the guided trip for, and I was like, you know what, like, you were lucky enough to have 2 breakthroughs in a row your first time doing it, and, you know, you were told, you know, accept my death and just move on and be happy. And, you know, she clearly hasn't, and she's clearly falling back on DMT for just this kind of temporal reunion with, you know, her dead fiance. And I get it. It's grief is terrible. Like, I overcame a great deal of my cousin's the grief that came out with my cousin's death, particularly me blaming myself for having to inform her sister that her, you know, sister who she loved so much was dead, because my aunt was in hysterics. And I beat myself up for years, but I could always tell myself, well, I did that because I had to. I dutifully had to do that, just because my aunt couldn't. But, you know, the survivor's guilt sort of complex would make me feel bad fucking every time I thought about it. And, you know, when I did the Changa and felt embraced by her, and, like, you know, just find happiness in your life, keep me alive just through, you know, the stories you tell about the great times you spent together, and move on. And so I was like, fucking great, you know, because, and I still every now and then will think about her, because, you know, I don't think closure is something that actually happens like 100%. I don't think you ever actually get that. I think it's just an idea that was developed to make people believe that they could go on living without being stricken by grief or whatever. But no one like fully achieves it. So I think it was just like a well-meaning idea, but as they say, you know, the road to hell is paved with good intentions and all that shit. But yeah, and also talking to this person, this friend of mine who you know, is like doing way too much, fucking and kind of going a little kooky. Like she was like, oh, fucking me and my new partner, we have these psychic interactions on it, and like once we're hitting the pen, and these are pens you can buy fucking at stores in my city. It's crazy. I mean, they suck. I've tried them. They suck, and they're way overpriced. But fuck, it's not my money. I'm not gonna tell people how to spend their fucking money. But you know, I did tell her though, like, 'cause she was like, oh, it's so fucking crazy. Like here's the proof that there's like really something paranormal going on. Like we both did it, and we left the vape cart like right on the table in front of us, and it ended up in the kitchen. And I've done DMT, and like DMT, yeah, if you do enough of it, it'll make you go to sleep. And it's very hard to get that level of breakthrough on a fucking pen, especially very weak pens like that. And B, I have had full-on breakthroughs, like intense, like 40 milligram breakthroughs, typically in conjunction with like a sub-anesthetic dose of ketamine, and I'll wake up like across the room, like fucking crouching under my desk, and be like, oh, I must have wandered over here, kind of like a sleepwalker does. It's just fucking Occam's razor. You know, it shows to me that, you know, like the mindset of many of these people is that they are chasing something magical that like just isn't there. Not to say that there's no majesty in the DMT experience, but they're putting too much stock into it, and they are looking like, you know, and this is like very like selective like cognitive dissonance type of reasoning, you know, and not valid reasoning, but like, you know, in their mind they're reasoning that, oh yeah, this is proof because I want something that reinforces my narrative. This is more than just the sum of my mind going through, or, you know, me plumbing the bowels of my mind. Like, you know, the way I kind of look at it is, you know, taking psychedelics and having ego death going inwards, and, you know, I'd say this even applies to ketamine, but, you know, it's a very different experience. If you take enough to have ego death, it's like you merge with your subconscious, and you realize that, you know, there's all these catacombs in your mind, and like the catacombs in Paris, you know, there's tons of skeletons, and the catacombs go on for so long. There's all these hidden corridors you don't know about. You know, there's like the catacombs in Paris, it's still these corridors aren't completely mapped out, so go on for who knows how long. But by, you know, getting that level 8A, I think it's level 8A, it could be 8B. Like one is the level of ego death where you get that sort of 5-MeO type experience of being one with everything, and the other is, you know, the sort of NN DMT ego death where, you know, you see all these crazy entities and whatnot. Can't remember which one it is. The 8A, 8B geometry is describing the patterns of activity in your brain that happens when in such a state. But yeah, with the NN-DMT ego death type freebase, the, you know, freebasing NN-DMT and having that level of ego death, that specific type of ego death, it allows you with a great deal of lucidity to explore like the vast amount of archetypes in one's own mind, and also if you put in the effort to reintegrate, the things you encounter won't seem so supernatural. They'll seem like, oh, there's a reason to this, it's like a David Lynch film. Most people watch a David Lynch film and be like, what was that? That was just a bunch of random, crazy, surreal shit. There's no logic whatsoever to that. And it's like, yeah, there is. There's dream logic to it. And it's meant to be something that is highly interpretive and allegorical and presentation. And so, I think, that's in a weird way comparable to DMT. Not that it's the same experience watching a David Lynch film, a DMT film, but the way people come away from it being like, that was just so crazy and so full of the most random, incomprehensible content, that it must be something beyond what we can objectively explain. And I think that speaks to the lack of time people have taken to actually review the content without bias and to reintegrate it. And that's, very important. I'm spending today, and that partially why I make these videos is as a little piece of the reintegration process. I restate everything that happened, so the memory's fresh in my mind, and I go, okay, what do I do with this? As I told you, I had the interpretation of routine, and I'm trying to think of in my life, okay, well, how am I, by adhering to a structure of, regiment in my life, how am I impeding myself? I'm dancing around, various parts of my life that I do need to address under the pretense of, I have to fulfill my routine. See, I got meaning from that when I could have been like, oh, fucking, I saw a crazy spaceship-like thing, and, all these entities are multiplying and transforming, so they must be fucking crazy aliens. No, that's just the lazy approach, in my opinion, and, I don't mean to, because when my friend, when I did those guided trips for her, she was more inclined towards spirituality, and I was like, you know what, I'm not going to take the wind out of your sails. I'm not going to debunk away your experience, because, your experience is no less valid than my own experiences. So I try not to be too dismissive, but what I do try to do is get people to consider that there are, more alternatives that are just as awesome in their implications. Like, oh my God, how crazy complex is the brain to be able to produce this level of experience and detailed experience? To consider things like that outside of just, this was some sort of metaphysical exaltation. I think that is, as history shows, and it's exemplary of the fallibility in human interpretation. We tend to get a lot wrong. We tend to misunderstand, and when it comes to stuff that is as abstruse in its content as a DMT experience, where you can't readily just correlate the strange entities to, any sort of map or model that you have grown accustomed to using as a way of making sense of things in the real world, because it's just so hard to compare and contrast to anything in the real world. Well, I still think, that, it makes people leaping to the spiritual interpretation more understandable to me, but it doesn't make it justified. If that person is willing to take that reintegration time needed to really put that experience under the microscope in retrospect, and to consider it from all angles as opposed to just what did I want to get out of this, what mental gymnastics am I going to do to make it so what I experience fits the narrative of what I want to get out of this. Well, if you're doing those kinds of the like sort of logical leaps and bounds in your own mind, I think you're just setting yourself up for fucking bad times when you do DMT afterwards, because it's gonna just go, you know what, you're doing this fucking amazing gift for you mere mortals. You are using it for the wrong reasons. You're using it to fulfill something that you wanted to believe before you even did it. It'll fucking throttle you over the head with that message, and it may be very, very, very fucking uncomfortable for you. Like I had that DMT trip where in the video title I was like, I guess I'm gonna have to change the name of my channel now, because it seemed like it was explaining the whole concept of how paranormal events occur, and concepts like as above so below. Well, I believe it was just kind of explaining it to me, but at the time it was so it just blew my socks off and had my brain reeling so much. I was like, this has to be something more than just the mind. This is too complex. But that's just, again, not giving the mind enough credit, in my opinion. And it took me about 20 minutes to reason that it, in fact, wasn't so much spiritual and more so just it blew me away so much that I was flabbergasted and just reaching for an answer. But when I took the time to actually really reflect and ruminate on it, I was like, oh yeah, I was high. So probably not a legitimate paranormal experience, but it did teach me a lot about those concepts, which I found was very interesting. And for all I know, what it was showing me, these will-o'-the-wisp type creatures and leprechauns and stuff like that, maybe they're very much real, and it was going around fucking Ireland and grabbing fairies and changelings and just being like, here, look, see, you're real. But and just flicking them back into wherever their abode is. For all I know, it could be true. It could be. Do I think so? Probably not. But I always reserve an iota of doubt in my own abilities to derive meaning from these things, because I think just my neurochemical imbalance, the major depressive stuff, it's made me immune to spirituality in the sense of something greater, and something that is so